All right, it is now 4:30, and I'd like to call to order this February 10th, 2022 meeting of the Evansville Vanderburgh Public Library Board of Trustees. Any visitors present? Do we have anyone? And any correspondence? Any correspondence to come before the board? Hearing none. Before we move on to the consent agenda, I'd like to appoint Rick Cameron, Treasurer Pro Tem. Sabrina is with us, but unable to fulfill that responsibility. Sabrina, that's your appointment. And we'll move on to consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move to accept it. A second. This is Sabrina.
A motion and a second. Any discussion of any of the items on the consent agenda?
I do have a couple of questions. On the personnel report, I just wanted to ask if we conduct exit interviews and then how we would use the information gleaned from those interviews, recruitment and retention.
Sure. Good question, Rick. I actually checked with Lisa, our HR director. Rick was nice enough to send me his questions in advance last night. And we do, in fact, do exit interviews, and we do use that data. Usually a lot of it's anecdotal as they go through the interview. Direct result of that data is an action team that we formed this year as part of our strategic plan to look into part-time benefits. Usually when we're losing part-time employees, it's because they're going to full-time employment because they need benefits. So we're looking at if there's any type of part-time benefits we can do, provide to our part-time staff. And we have a team made up of library employees looking into that for us as part of our strategic initiatives.
Excellent.
Any other questions or discussion?
I did have one more item on the director's report. I just wanted to also shout out, just because we know from the school corporation how difficult it is when you have this much facility space and you want to get open, to move snow to Stan Egley and Vermont Kelsey for the excellent work they did. It was pointed out by Scott in the director's report.
I have a comment regarding the director's report. It was, well, actually, I think it was on the director's report, but the poem that was sent in, Josh Alcala, I just thought it was extremely creative and a really nice way to express appreciation for his work. And I loved the phrases that the patron used in the poem: professional grace and an access warrior. Just felt like those were such appropriate terms and something we would want to hear about our employees.
Yes. We're also very proud of that fact that came through our branch manager, Claire at McCullough, through Heather, to be included in that report, and Sean here as a location manager, who helps put those location reports together. So public services.
So we have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All those in favor of accepting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And we'll move on to governance. I don't believe we have anything to come before the board today regarding governance. So next we'll move to the finance report. Lori.
In your packet was the appropriations report as of January 31st, 2022. Of course, it's just the first month of the year, so we're always off to a little bit of a slow start because we pushed so hard to get everything paid in the prior year-end processes. We do have a balance of 94%, which means that we expended about 6% of our budget. If you look at it on an incremental 1/12, that would be 8%. So we're pretty close in that first month of expending our budget. We will be looking in the next 4 weeks at purchasing all of the equipment and furniture that was requested as part of the budget process last summer. So we'll be showing significant amount of expenditures probably in April because of the timing of the shipping and so forth, which we're still having some issues with getting things on time or in a quick manner. So look for that expenditure rise in probably.
For any questions? If not, we'll move on to investments today, Lori.
Our investments were entrusted in Indiana for all 4 funds, total $14,104,000. The average daily yield for January is 0.0932%, or up 0.2 of a point since December. And the year to date, which would start over on January 1st, is 0.0835. And because of it starting over, that's also up 0.2 of a point from the December average daily yield.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of bills. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
What does it annualize to?
It's hard to say because it fluctuates up and down on a daily basis and monthly basis. We usually see approximately for all, for the operating fund, around $10,000 in interest. I'd have to go back and look and see what we've done. Obviously, the better the interest rates are, the better we've done. Some years we've more than doubled our budgeted or anticipated interest on those, and then on the other funds, we see the same types of fluctuations. The operating fund, though, Rob, is the one that fluctuates the most because we put all of our cash into investments because the Trust Indiana vehicle allows us to take money out within a 24-hour period and ACH it to settle into our bank account. Because we get, even though it's not great interest rates, we get some interest on that money where our bank accounts to alleviate significant service fees and charges. We go with a basic checking account, which does not pay us any interest. So it's non-interest bearing checking account. So we keep everything in our investments. And then as we need it, we just ACH it over into our checking account. That could be once or twice a month. And so those balances fluctuate. And as we get our trust, our tax settlements semi-annually, then we'll move that into our investments as well. So it really fluctuates as does the actual interest that we're receiving off of it. I'm sorry?
All money that's trusted in the county except for the bank account.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to approval of bills and Mr. Cameron.
In the form of a motion to approve invoices totaling $1,044,624.23 and payrolls dated January 14th, 2022, $253,059.47, and January 28th, 2022, $382,543.37.
We have a motion to approve the bills. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting and approving the bills, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And that passes. Other business for the 2022 year, calendar year. I'm recommending that the finance committee consist of myself, which is a requirement, Sabrina Stewart Thomas, who's board treasurer, and Eric Williams. And building and grounds, which is really an ad hoc committee, myself, Mr. Clements, and Mr. Cameron. So those are our committees to date. And Scott, if there are a need to appoint other ad hoc committees, we'll deal with that during the year. I believe we're limited to 3 on a committee, but beyond that, it constitutes a
The constitute quorum of the board.
Only problem. We will not get it.
All right, then moving on to staff spotlight. Scott.
That's not so much a staff spotlight, as we're going to talk a little bit about EDGE and what it is. So I have some paperwork for you. Sabrina, I will email these to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
So as you all know, we started talking last month about us being part of the pilot of EDGE 360. And we had some questions about what that entails. So I thought we'd back it up a little bit and start with what is EDGE. So EDGE is a management tool put together by Urban Libraries Council. It's been around for several years. The initial stage, version 1.0 and 2.0, focused a lot on connectivity, digital equity, well, not digital equity to that extent, more about our training, digital skills, digital services. And what you see on your first paper is just an overview of EDGE. And then I did some screenshots from our EDGE 2.0. So you can see once we do our assessment, we're able to get a comparable value, some scores from our peer group and what the total is. So you're seeing a screen grab of our EDGE 2.0 that we did in 2021, I believe, of where we landed on that, because where we are with EDGE 360, it's still so new, we don't have a comparison yet. They're still working, finalizing the questions of the assessment. So I wanted to give you just the overview of what it will look like as we continue to go through it. So once we do our assessment, they get a comparison. We're able to see where we fell in comparison with other libraries. And if you look at the back, I just pulled one simple section from that EDGE 2.0, which discusses health and wellness. You can see that where we scored on 5.1.1, we put no, we don't have the ability right now for library users to take classes at least quarterly using online health and wellness resources, including electronic healthcare. So, yes.
Speak a little bit closer to my Sabrina.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, you can move it up or just tilt it up.
That's okay. Very rarely does anybody tell me I'm not loud enough. All right. Is that better, Sabrina? Okay. So on the back, you'll see, like I said, just a snapshot of where we answered on 5.1.1 and 5.1.2. And where we either have the in progress that you see on 5.1.2 and where we have the no, we could create in the action section of the EDGE module, SMART goals for each one and how we're going to improve, how we're going to be better. You can do it on every single one. You can prioritize where you want to go for the year, but it does involve those SMART goals. We have used this for several years. Libraries have been using it for several years. In fact, our scores have gone up the past few times that we've done it because we do look at our scores, use them, and assess. So I've also given you, the big pack is truly the toolkit from ULC. This, we're not going to go over all of this. This is for you guys to kind of look at and ask questions. But it really goes over exactly the process. Prepare, assess, compare, and act that I just did at a very high level. But this is the EDGE toolkit from ULC. And you, like I said, Sabrina, I'll give you this, so you'll have it to look at too. But it just shows you exactly how it's used, why we use it from the ULC point of view. Now, what we're doing with 360 is those new areas. So they're expanding EDGE to include some new areas, including, like I said, last month, anti-racism specifically. Right now, anti-racism, they only have a few sections of those questions even put together. Being part of the pilot libraries means that we take the assessment, and if we had questions about it or how we would have answered it or what did this actually mean, we're working with ULC to reconfigure those questions so they make better sense, right? So that when everybody takes it, nobody asks the same questions that we had to ask and didn't know how to assess. Questions similar to the library's HR team has written guidelines in place to support anti-racist best practices for hiring and performance reviews. We answered yes, we do have those in place. So those are the simple kind of questions that we have in the anti-racism. Right now, it's just one section covering policies and practices, as well as leadership and organizational management. They haven't covered any program-related things regarding anti-racism. It's really focused internally. The other area is the digital equity. The digital equity is kind of building on whatever EDGE started, because EDGE started as a technology framework, a digital skills framework, both for library staff, but also for the services we provide. So this is going a little bit deeper. In this section, we find questions now about, is the library part of a coalition in the community, or is there even a coalition in the community for widespread broadband? And if there is, are we part of it? Or are we at these certain meetings? Just different things, gauging where libraries are. Doesn't mean we always have to do it all. It's to gauge where different libraries are in the nation. Then if you want to, when we go outreach and engagement, messaging, do we participate in a jurisdiction-wide initiative to achieve digital equity and inclusion? There are questions about what does that mean, right? So these are the questions we go back to ULC and say, hey, we don't even know what you're asking here. So that's where we are in the process. We're still questioning with ULC. We did a debrief. The 20 libraries came together with all their questions. There was a Google Doc for all of us to put our feedback in. They will rework some of them they're pulling apart because we said, well, it was yes for this part, but then you said and this part was no. So you pulled that apart into 2 questions. Eventually, we will get to the compare, and we'll be able to compare where we are with these pilot libraries and see how we can move forward. Now, as being part of a pilot project, some of us, this is brand new work. Some of these works have never been done. It's not very common for there to be truly an anti-racist statement, truly a statement. If you want to create that, then our pilot libraries will have conversations about what does that look like? What does this look like for our community versus another community? How do we support that work in the way that we want to perceive ourselves as a library in the community, right? So that's a lot, right? I gave you a lot. I gave you a lot at a high level, but also a little bit of the detail. We're still in the early phases of the EDGE 360 pilot program, is what I'm telling you. It will be part of my work. We will include other people as we go along, as it gets a little deeper, as we get to start having some of those conversations about what do we want to do, how do we move work forward, where did we say no, where did we say in progress, how do we move that work forward? Other questions? Yeah.
On the benchmarking, I think we should just, whatever we do, and I was kind of dawns on me when I hear this sometimes, of looking at national trends and things like that. I said we don't forget our local community, our flavor of our local community, and that we don't become some bland vanilla, what everybody else is doing, and forget who we are.
You are absolutely correct. And in fact, in our debrief meeting last week, that was one of the things that I said. Someone talked about what they have going on and whatever, and I said, I'm just going to tell you right now that would never work here. And that's not going to be the way that we do it. Like just straight, and that's what the conversations are about. And the benchmarking, even the benchmarking. When Scott and I had this conversation as we went to do the assessment, a lot of times we want to look like we're doing well and we want to score well because we think it's like a grade card. Some of this is not a grade card. It's just a measure. It's just a measure. It doesn't mean we always have to overachieve And we can't ever find out where we do want to achieve until we know exactly where we are. So saying no sometimes is the perfect thing. It's not always going for the yes, right? And we do have to assess our state and where we are. And I don't mean our state, I mean the state of our community. But yes, I totally agree with you. Did you have another question? I'm sorry. Okay, perfect.
So Heather, when we look at the assessment, really the step that moves us to action is when we set the goal, determine what those goals are. And we don't have to set a goal for every metric.
We do not. And in fact, a lot of them, there's gonna be no way anybody could set a goal for all of these and try to move it forward. There's just no way. Even with what we saw with the edge, it's a lot to do. You usually pick a few and where you want to start and what makes sense for your library and for your community. And not all of them will.
And I think that's where, just speaking for myself, but I would think that might be where the board might be most interested is in that goal selection and as we would move forward with action
Yeah.
to improve some of those metrics.
Well, I will keep you posted as we go along.
Any other questions? Anything else to come before the board? Scott, any comments that you'd like to share?
Just a couple of announcements that, some exciting things going on at the library. I know a few meetings ago, you had Sierra come in and tell you about Business Central, and program she's starting now is a small local business discount program. And what it is we're working with local businesses and if you present your library card to them, you get a small discount. And she has, I believe, only started this for a couple of weeks now. We have 4 businesses signed up already to participate in the early going of this. So it's really exciting to help that shop local mentality as well as getting the library name out there too and working those partnerships with local business. Another thing that happened recently here in the last week or so, well, especially since our last meeting, Kelly McDaniel, our teen adult librarian here at Central, established a teen advisory group. And that group is going to help plan programs, services, and things for that particular age demographic. But they're also a volunteer pool, and they've already helped out with 1 library tour. So that's some exciting things that are happening just real quick locally since the last time we met, from a couple of people that you just recently met here at one of your meetings.
Sierra's program, if you want to follow along and see what they are, you can go to the website under EVPL Extras, and you can find out which businesses have already signed up and what those discounts are. So that's where that will be updated once we get their MOUs. Cassidy updates them on the website.
Did you say that was EVPL Extra? Is that what you said? Can you repeat the website again?
Extras on the website, Sabrina.
Sabrina, I can email it to you if you'd like.
Okay, I just had a little trouble here in the link. So thank you so much.
Anything else to come before the board?
Yeah, if I could, I would have asked, and I sent this to Scott as well, to ask about tutoring program that's happening in conjunction with EVSC. Library, if you had an update.
Sure.
How that's going.
Sure, and I gave you a handout here, and it's a card that tells you about tutor.com. That is a vendor that we use as a vendor database. And what it is an online database where students can go and get tutoring help online. And it's available till 10 p.m. Pacific, if I remember correctly. So it's kind of nice that way, so they have plenty of hours to get there. On the back of that card is Brain Fuse, and that has some job service stuff that we use as well. But tutor.com has started to really take off. Cassidy and another one of our adult reference librarians, Jake Kohlmeyer, has been working with EVSC and to help promote it in both classrooms and teachers. Jake's a former teacher. Cassidy makes sure it gets to the PR folks over at EVSC and gets in the Peachtree newsletter. And because of that, starting in September, we started having over 100 sessions each month. And we started that first mass marketing as school started up this year. So it's turned and worked out really, really well, and it started to pick up steam. You usually have a dead month in January when you come back from school. And so January statistics weren't quite that high, but you bump up again in February, March, April when your big projects are coming due.
Belinda doesn't give much homework. It all comes back.
There you go. But yes, it's been a really good program. So we're glad that we can provide this and have that partnership with EDSC, because the other thing that people don't realize is with our e-access card program, I had Connie, who does our library statistics for our circulation system, and we have over 20,000 students at EVSC that have e-access cards that are current active cards right now. So that means they can hit all of our databases and ebooks and everything and have access to all that. So it's a great partnership that we're able to make sure that your students have.
And I'll put a plug in, it's a huge savings for parents. And the focus is really middle and high school. There comes a point in almost every parent's career in raising their child where the homework gets a little more challenging in some areas than they can help support. And this is a great program to help bridge that gap for families. And it's very well vetted. That was one of the things that we really looked at, is the process they use to vet tutors. And so it's a great tool for parents and families.
I have one more announcement, just to remind everybody, we have our second Meet Your Legislators event this Saturday. In partnership with the League of Women Voters, we hold our Meet Your Legislators during this session. And it will be here Saturday, right here in the Browning Rooms. It starts at 9:15. We had a great turnout in January, even though the weather wasn't superb. And hopefully we'll have a great turnout this Saturday, but it's always an interesting event. So just a reminder, if you want to come out and ask your legislators any questions, they'll be here.
And Sabrina, Heather was mentioning the Meet Your Legislators meeting this Saturday, 9:15 in Brown.
All right. Yes, I heard. Thank you.
I just want to remind everyone, if you haven't already signed your conflict of interest form, to get that back to me as soon as possible. If you want to read through it first, that's fine as well. Sabrina, I'll be emailing you your conflict of interest form, and I'll mark where you need to sign it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hearing nothing else to come before the board, I adjourn this February 10th meeting of the Evansville Vanderburgh Public Library Board of Trustees. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.